Today, believe it or not, marks 73 years since the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp was liberated by British and Canadian soldiers. During the Second World War, around 70,000 men, women and children, including Anne Frank, died there. Well, we're joined today by one of the survivors, Renee Salt. And it is so good to have you here. We're very honoured to have you here, Renee, because I know you were just saying to us that this is something you went through a large part of your life just not wanting to talk about.
No, we couldn't talk about it. My husband, if you mentioned Bergen-Belsen, the tears were running down his face. So.
And he was one of the liberators,
yes,
wasn't he? We got these.
Yeah.
Let me hold these two up because I think these two are great pictures. And let me drop these down. There you go. There you go. That one, this one here, is actually at Bergen-Belsen itself. And for what people like you went through, we know it must also have been as equally hard for these soldiers and your husband as well to come to terms with what they saw there.
Yeah, that's why we couldn't talk about it. And my mother died there 12 days after we were liberated, on the 27th of April.
So how did you end up there?
I was sent to Bergen-Belsen from Hamburg-Harburg. I was working there during the war. And we were sent there at the end. Towards the end, they sent everybody away on death marches and in open co-wagons. And they sent us to Bergen-Belsen from the camp I was in.
Well, you are able to talk about it now. You were saying that you hadn't
Yes.
spoken about it for 50 years because you now go into schools to educate children and let them know exactly what happened and I suppose to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again.
That's why we do it, because it's very difficult to talk about it, even now.
When we look at the scale of what happened, I think that is what, perhaps for people of our age, that is still very difficult to comprehend. The absolute scale of what happened and how many people died in these camps.
Yes.
It's beyond humanity, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. You can't imagine. People who are not there can't imagine what a place it was. It was hell on earth.
Do you ever find any sense of peace all these 73 years on? Can you sort of come to terms in a way with what happened?
Well, we did come to terms eventually. You couldn't live like this forever. But when you remember, and you remember it quite often, every day, I look at the pictures and everything comes back to me. It's very hard to live with it. It's very, very hard. I lost my mother there 12 days after liberation. So what can I say?
We can see, you know, all these years on, it's still so distressing for you. But what helps you through? What motivates you when you get up each day? And how do you get through those awful memories?
Well, we want to speak to schools. We want to speak to people. They should know what happened. Perhaps we can avoid another Holocaust from happening. At the moment, the situation isn't very good. The anti-Semitism is very bad all over the world. And we hope by speaking about it, to talk to children and to adults as well, that we might avoid another Holocaust from happening.
Renee, do you understand, as a young girl who went through that, and now 73 years later, do you understand, I wonder if you understand how inspirational, how important you are to the future generations, being able to hear your story?
Well, that's why we talk about it, because it's very difficult to talk about it. That's why we do it, all the survivors.
Have you been, well, you must at some point have been back, have you?
I used to go back 4 times a year back to Auschwitz and to the other camps.
And what's that like? Because you might think that you'd never want to go anywhere near there.
Well, at first I went back with the BBC. They made a documentary, a 1-hour documentary. And from everybody they picked on me and my grandson. The program was called Grandchild of the Holocaust. And so they persuaded me to come with, which I did. And since then, I've been going back sometimes 4 times a year with groups, you know, to tell them what happened there.
Can I just ask, because I've just seen that, is that your actual badge?
No,
It's not
I
there.
had nothing, absolutely nothing when I left. Someone had a piece of material with this printed out.
Because this is, I mean, obviously we've seen in documentaries and movies and things, Jewish people being forced to wear these.
Yeah.
It's a very, this is a very disturbing thing to see.
Yes.
To see
We
that
had
people
to
were
wear-
labelled in this way.
We had to wear one in the front, one in the back. Without it, you wasn't allowed to go out into the street, otherwise you could have been shot.
Oh, it's a terrifying prospect. Look, Renee, we really appreciate you talking to us on this anniversary. And as you say, I think the importance thing here is that we make sure this never happens again.
I hope it'll never happen again to no one.
Wow. It is.
Renee.
That's a crucial thing.
Thank you.
Renee.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much indeed.